Hello and welcome to a voiceover of me tackling the Times Monthly Club special for June. Special number 20261, which I hadn't tried before. Now, there was a voice problem. As you can see, my lips are not syncing with what I'm saying, and that's because when I recorded this, my computer had a malfunction, which, although it wasn't telling me, meant that there was no recording of my voice. So you're going to get to watch me solving the puzzle with the picture that was there at the time, but I'm going to talk about the solve of that puzzle now. So this puzzle is a very hard cryptic that the Times put out to its club members every month, and going to have a go at it now and we'll see how it goes. So one across said, Iron Horse provided heads, cost of use varying regularly. I don't know what that is now. If me 2 weeks ago got this, hats off to me, because I don't know what the answer is to that. I think there's so much of possibility within that. No, I don't remember the answer. I must have solved it, I think, during the puzzle, but I didn't get it quickly. If I do suddenly write it in, I will tell you why. But it looks like I'm about to move on to another clue. Right, one down, one squeezing part held by Morse inventor with both leads cut off. Or I remember pondering that the inventor of Morse was called Samuel Morse, which seems very uncryptic, so unlikely to be what's being referred to here. But Morse inventor does look like a meaningful phrase. I think I eventually thought of the idea that it might be the writer of the Inspector Morse novels, who was Colin Dexter, but I didn't see how we could use that. Now, two down, Northerner's lonely bachelor, banished from occupied bed. Probably a Northerner's word for lonely in the dictionary somewhere, and bachelor can be the letter B, but what an occupied bed is, I don't know. I think I did speculate that there was a word like unked, but that would require two B's to be banished from bunk bed. And then I moved on. 8 across. Repeating this change would make sauna such a stinker. Well, if you were to replace the A in sauna with a different letter each time, thus repeating a change, you could get skunk, which is a stinker. And that would involve changing A to K, and atok, which spells A to K, is actually the name of a type of skunk, which I've come across in Listener Crosswords, so I was able to get that. Now that really did make two down look like unked, but if that's a word, feels Scottish rather than Northern to me, but I still couldn't see, I think, how to make that right out of the clue. And that's because I'm thinking about bunk bed an awful lot as I'm going through it. So couldn't see how that would work and probably gave up thinking about it at some point and tried another clue. But annoyingly, the only two clues that Atok gave me letters for are two that I've spent some time considering already and not got very far with. Still clearly thinking about what I might be missing in that bed clue. 10 across. Dull purple beam spans shop. The shop that immediately occurs to me always in these clues when you're looking for short synonyms is a deli. But I'm trying to think of a word for a dull purple that involves deli in it, but I don't think at this point that I know any. I don't think at any point in this solve that I know any. And of course, shop can also mean to blab or rat, so there are other things that a word for beam could be spanning across there to create a word for either dull or dull purple. So time to look at something else. 3 down. Wicked activity showcased by irremediable Riefenstahl. Well, I'm immediately thinking of Leni Riefenstahl, the Nazi propagandist and filmmaker, but actually, when you think about those letters being supplied in the clue, showcased in the middle of the words irremediable Riefenstahl is diablerie, which is from the French for devil. That's devilry, i.e. wicked activity. Now, 13 across. Diminutive tunneler, so probably an animal, demolished raw eggs in thick sauce. Well, it could be an anagram of raw eggs in a 3-letter sauce like soy, but I couldn't think of anything for that. Raw eggs could be a row or over, but it's hard to imagine what they could be. Diminutive tunneler, would it be a mammal or some other type of animal? Very difficult to figure out. And I'm not sure, I don't think I get this clue at this point, although I am, interestingly, thinking along the right lines, roughly. And there may be a point at which I see that keeping the G's together would be useful in that. No, we move on to 9 across. Chipper article about Britain in the same source, vegan diet item. I think at some point, I think about the 6-4 phrase in the context of vegetables and diet items. And I did think of the adzuki bean, which has occurred in crosswords before. So adzuki bean, I suddenly realised, has got UK in it. A chipper could be an ads, which is either spelled ADZ or ADZE. And in the same source can be ib for ibidem in book references. And the article is an. So it's actually ads an, put about or around UK ib. And that does give adzuki bean. And I'm sure I come up with it. So there we go. And it's also got a Z in it. It's popular in this crossword for the compilers to include words with strange letters. So now, 4 down, unsettled area surrounding new estate in Paraíba. And I don't know where that place is. Somewhere South America, it sort of sounds like to me. Unsettled is a difficult, probably a definition of something. Area is often the letter A, but N is often the letter given by new. And I think I eventually conclude that I'm unlikely to know a South American estate that fits that. You know, I know haciendas and ranchos, but not this one. So 5 down, grabbing spades, scrape up residue of retreating glacier. Well, I think I know that esker or escar is something to do with a glacier. And spades can be the letter S. Scrape, I was thinking about eke, as in eke out a living because of the K that we've got in the grid. But in the end, I suddenly figure out that you can put rake upwards, put an S in it, and you have the word escar. And although I wasn't wildly confident about the definition, I was pretty sure that's what we were aiming at. 11 across, South African native plant used in cooking. Its second half absorbing the first green light. To green light, something could be to okay it. South African native plant used in cooking. I don't know, and I don't know quite how its second half could absorb the first, probably the first half. And I think I'm really struggling to see how that's going to fit with a green light. Could it be a literal green light? And are we looking for a South African native plant or a South African native? Or is the S even just a letter S? Anyway, Scottish cardinal at 7 down. Looks like twa immediately. Excusing FA from religious legal judgment. Well, yes, that's fatwa without FA. The clue looks like it's talking about the Football Association has been cut out or something, but twa is the Scottish for 2. Now, 6 down. To inspire older brother to cut English beef, say it. And I don't know, to breathe in could be to inspire. So is there an old word for in-breathe or em-breathe? What would the English beef be there? I don't know if I do come up with this at the time. I can now remember what's going on in this clue, but it's difficult to figure out. There's so many bits of wordplay there. To cut could be an instruction to break into something. Older brother. Older is sometimes aine, A-I-N-E from the French. And I'm probably wondering about that. To inspire doesn't have to be breathing. And I've put in breathe. or I'm beginning to put in embreathe, but I'm wondering how the end of it works. I think I figure out that meat could be beef, say. And so if you put BR in E meat, and the whole word means to inspire in an older way, then you're just needing to have he to mean it. And that can be done, I think, by just assuming that the third person pronoun is largely the same word. So, one across, we're going back to the iron horse. Provided heads, cost of use varying regularly. I'm not sure even now I still don't really know what this is about. So it looks like it's going to end in meant at this point as a word, you know, something not quite acknowledgement, but something along those lines. Cost of use, I literally cannot remember what's going on here. If or so can sometimes be what provided means. I've gone back to the South African native plant here. Used in cooking, its second half absorbing the first green light. And don't know if I'm coming up with anything. I mean, Reebok would actually fit, R-E-E-B-O-K, which as well as being a shoe brand is an African antelope. Right, we're looking at 16 across. Peak half visible on climber's route diagram. And that's pretty tough. Peak half visible could mean half of the letters of peak or something, but I don't know any short abbreviations for a climber or a climber's route. Ivy can be a climber, but Tivy doesn't mean anything as far as I know. So struggling a bit with what's going on there. Having a look at 18 across. Quits, last part of heptathlon after central switch. Well, given the letters I've got and the 4-6, I'm immediately thinking of even Steven. If you're even Steven, you're quits. And how would that work? Well, the last part of a heptathlon, I think I was thinking that even events with the TS switched around would work. But in fact, it's event 7 is the last part of a heptathlon. And if you switch around the two middle letters of event 7, which I think is rather beautiful, you get the phrase even Steven. I don't know if that is a phrase in the States. It certainly is in the UK. And I figured it out finally. I think even after I'd written it in, I only then sort of figured out event 7. So 12 down. What for contrary men ages old string instruments? With men ages old, it looks a bit like an anagram, but that doesn't really work. So what for contrary men ages old string instruments? I literally don't know what is going on there now. I suspect, therefore, I don't get this at the time. Yeah, I can just about remember some of that, but I think I spend a bit of time with the clue and move on. Papa will look sideways for lost gunner. So I'm thinking about a musketeer or maybe a pistolier here as a gunner from the past language. Papa can be P in the NATO alphabet. So pistolier has chances, but I'm less sure that's a word than musketeer. So not convinced by that. Not sure if I try putting it in at this point. I don't remember precisely. We'll see. And no, I'm looking elsewhere. Right, we've gone back to the diminutive tunnel. I haven't got any more letters for it, but maybe a bit of time to ruminate on the anagram for the other part of my brain is going to help. And we'll see how I do and whether I come up with anything here. I seem to remember it was just as I was moving on to another clue that I suddenly did begin to piece together what was going on in this clue. No, apparently not at this point. So 19 down begins with E. Interrupting departure, exit or egress. Copper had made this. Excuses. There used to be stuff in Private Eye about policemen making their excuses and leaving after finding wrongdoing. I'm not sure. Ooh, exit again though. And copper had could be C-U-D, I start thinking. Copper, C-U from the periodic table. Had can be abbreviated to apostrophe D. And that would give us excudit, which sounds to me like a court writ. Oh, I didn't go for it there. That's interesting. I thought I did, but obviously I come back to that a bit later and think about it. So I'm getting a bit bogged down in the puzzle at this point. So the dull purple beam spanning shot. Well, we know where Delhi would go now if it was still in it, and that would work. But we need to come up with this word for dull purple. Cordelia would need Cora as a beam, and I'm not sure of that. I've gone back to the banished from occupied bed clue. Oh, look, I've settled on it now. And I think I've finally understood that to bunk is to occupy a bed. So bunked is occupied bed. If you take B out of that, nothing to do with bunk bed, you get unked. So now we've got a U in one across, which could begin with sound or aqua-D or all sorts of things that are still possible there. The iron, I'm immediately and always thinking of FE for the periodic table, iron. Horse can be various things, even just the letter H. I think that's a cocaine abbreviation rather than a horse racing abbreviation, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure I'm going to come up with this either. Iron horse provided heads. Now, I've gone back to this. I'm thinking about Delhi being certain now. No, trying one down again. And maybe thinking a little harder about Colin Dexter. One squeezing part held by Morse inventor with both leads cut off. Part can sometimes be PT. But is the definition one squeezing or is it one squeezing part? It's probably more likely to be one squeezing, because if it was a lobster's pincer or something, a part of an animal that could squeeze, I don't think the constructor would use the word one in it. And when you start thinking about somebody squeezing, well, there are possibilities. Anyway, I've jumped on to words with no given letters. Backward idiot, no longer A, which A can mean what? I honestly don't remember what this is. Maybe I'll be impressed if I get it at the time. No, moved on to 14 down. Common people injecting speed foolishly into knee. Well, speed foolishly really looks like an anagram of speed. And that makes it look like the two-letter word in the middle of this might be the French D-E, de. So the people probably end in S. So I'm now thinking about something S-D-E. And then I suddenly, I hope, come up with gens as people in French phrases. And if I manage that, then I can probably think of genou being a knee. No, I didn't there. 24 across, Tupelo Jim Hogg's back, possibly after Vitality. I'm not sure about Tupelo. It sounds like an American town to me. Jim Hogg's back. Jim can be P-E. Hogg's back can be either the letter G or something like that, and possibly after Vitality. I think what I've thought at this point is, what if a hog's back is a ridge, which is a geographical feature I'm aware of, and you could put pep as the Vitality at the beginning, then P-E and ridge, and you get pepperidge, which I'm aware of as a proper noun, but not as a dictionary word. And how that means Tupelo, which I think of only as another proper noun, a town, I don't know. And in fact, I've since looked it up, and of course I should have known, which I didn't at the time I was recording this, that Tupelo is Elvis Presley's hometown. I did not know that. Anyway, 26 down, seeing regular losses. Well, that means leave out the some of the letters in a regular fashion from the word redraft, and you end up with earth, which, again, these short words, they come up in the Listener Crossword and similar quite a lot, and that is a South American plot of land, which I was sort of aware of. Now, 21 down, North American rail industry's first to abandon party. Well, there is a genus of rails called Sora, S-O-R-A, and those are birds I'm talking about that are called rails. So I should probably have started thinking about whether some version of that is going in. Now, 27 across. Corny Belgian cartoon character turned around anti-Euro manoeuvring. Well, the first Belgian cartoon character I would always think of is Tintin. But here, it looks like there's an anagram of anti-Euro, so I want a 5-letter Belgian cartoon character ending in F. And I think I do suddenly remember that the Smurfs were created by a Belgian. I think Father Abraham, was a Belgian, I don't know what, designer, creator, illustrator. And if you turn around Smurf, we would need a word, so that would give you frums, and we need a word for corny with frums and an anagram of anti-Euro. And I don't know how long it might take me to think of the fact that that might give us something. Maybe I'm going to need some help to be confident that that might be what we're looking at here. Or maybe at this point I hadn't even... Oh, I had thought of Smurf. There goes the from. Now I'm thinking, how can 14 down end in a U? And suddenly I think of the Latin for knee, genou, which can also be used by doctors in English. And I write in gens de peu, people of very little, which is the common people. Now I'm going to try pepperidge, because I came up with it before, and now it really does fit. And feels like I've got a bit going again. 20 across, ancient metric guide, universal among the ones with degrees. Well, the ones with degrees are surely BAs or MAs. They very often are. No, they're not. They're grads, and we put U amongst them. I don't remember solving that. Gradus must be a kind of guide to measurement for the ancients. In Rome, presumably. Now I can think of the Sora connection, and if you take I first, industries first, you take I out of soiree, you get sori, which I am sort of aware of as a variant of a type of bird. Now I'm thinking, is this fruminacious? No, that's not enough letters. Thinking about the letters a bit more, can't come up with it yet. Let's have a look at this 19 down again. Copper had interrupting departure. And if I do go back to exit, execute it looks right. It does sort of sound like a court writ, which might be something to do with a departure, and I'd risk it. There it goes. Now we're going back to thinking about frume. Yes. Frument now. Frumentarius. And although I couldn't swear it's a word, it could be. And it really works with the wordplay, and I'm risking it. Now this looks again like pistolier or musketeer, something like that. And I think I figure out that P is to leer means Papa will look sideways. Then 23 down, India's sweet, man behaving immaturely over nothing. Thinking about oafs and louts. Nothing is obviously the O at the end of the word in the grid, but over can also be an O. So maybe I'm looking for a 5-letter word ending in OO, which can be India's sweet. What would be the man behaving immaturely? A yob or an alf? 22 across. Khan's hybrid fowl to complement picken. It's very difficult. I don't know what is going on. What complement picken can mean is very hard for me to figure out here. And what Khan's hybrid fowl can mean, I don't know either. So cotton pickin' I'm aware of as a phrase, although I would have spelt it I-N, even without the G at the end. So not feeling great about that. 26 across, grass spliff to use as a drug outside broadcast. Well, outside broadcast can be abbreviated to OB, and to use as a drug can be to do. If you do cocaine, you're using it as a drug. And that strings together to make doob. And I'm aware of a doobie being a spliff, as it were, so I'm risking doob there. Now it could be lad over lad, and then O for over and O for nothing, and that would give ladoo, which is a possible Indian sweet, although I haven't heard of it. But a man behaving immaturely, lad, seems very reasonable. I think I probably am going to risk that. No, I've put in the O and not trusted the lad bit. Having another look at the long one here, what for countrymen? Oh, look, I've put eons for ages at the end of that, because of course melodians and accordions, although that's spelled IONs, are possible instruments. Let's see if I can figure out anything else, or just going to leave it at eons. So now I've got suffixes for 2 of the words in that corner, and we're just moving away. Backward idiot, no longer a. Well, now I can, with that N, I'm aware that there is both a nong and a nana in, maybe in Australia, maybe not even just only Australia, but nana backwards gives anan, which is something that Shakespeare does use to mean pardon, and or a. So I'm going to stick that in. Now maybe we'll have another look either at 13 down, 13 across, or 1 down. Not sure where I'm going next. Here we go, back to 13 across. Now there's a P at the end of it because I've gone with pistolier. And now surely I can see the anagram of raw eggs here and put it in something. We'll see. Might still take a moment, which is where I'm losing time, if any. I mean, we're 25 minutes in, still not a bad solve at this point, and suddenly I've thought of digger wasp. Haven't heard of it before, but it puts that anagram of raw eggs in dip, which can be a thick sauce. Now, going back to 1 down and thinking about 1 squeezing, I probably have the thought at this point that it could be somebody who is metaphorically squeezing people, and extortionate would fit. Now, what's that got to do with Morse inventor? Well, Colin Dexter. If you take, it's portion, part, held by Dexter, and both their leads have been cut off, so Ortion in Exeter gives you extortioner. I've also jumped to the conclusion that 10 across is grin around Delhi, giving Gridelin or Gridelin, which I wouldn't know as dull purple, but I've risked it. Now, 1 across begins with a U. Oh, look, I'm going for something here. Oh, I've put in the FE from the equidifferent I've come up with. And that works because equid can be a horse. So it's FE that equid if heads up. So, and then rent is the cost of use, and equidifferent means varying regularly. Now, on to 4 down. Unsettled area surrounding new estate in Paraíba. We've just got to think of words that might fit. Given hacienda, this might even be cognate and end in ender. And then phased could mean unsettled. If you unsettle someone, you phase them. That has various spellings, but this is certainly one of them. And I try phased around N with area coming after it. Phased A around N. And I'm trying that without knowing it brilliantly. Now, we're going back to the green light, which could have been okay. And when I eventually separate South African native from plant, I might remember that Reebok has a couple of spellings. And the other spelling that I'd forgotten is RHEBOK. And that would be a herb, a plant used in cooking, with its second half, RB, absorbing the first, HE, and then to green light is to OK. And that makes Reebok with an H. But no, I haven't put that in. I'm checking out 16 across again. Maybe, I'm not even certain I make much progress. I think peak half visible on climber's route diagram. I've had nothing to improve my understanding of this at this point. And I'm getting a bit stressed about how to understand this clue. What is the climber's route diagram? And don't know. Checking out Cairns hybrid fowl to complement pickin. Maybe I've thought at this point of pickin and choosen, but that doesn't, even if you wrote choosen, it's only 7 letters. And I'm certainly not thinking of what hybrid fowl actually is meant to mean in this clue. It's pretty difficult, frankly. So, taking a drink, having a break, I'll do the same here. I need to go back to either 11 across or 12 down and try and figure them out, because I think 16 and 22 across are very difficult. Maybe we need to look at 23 again. There's just me sitting, thinking, looking for inspiration. Oh, it's painful to watch, actually. Anyway, we're going to see how we do here, and still looking at the Cairns hybrid fowl to complement Picken and getting nothing out of it. It's very tricky. No idea what's going on, so no answer that I can enter there at the moment. Time to look probably at 23 down again. Still just desperately trying to think. It's very hard to know how to make your brain try to think of something else, and I'm not sure that that's something I ever achieve. Right, 12 down again. What for contrary men? Now, if ages is eons, men can sometimes be OR for other ranks, or GIs, or what? How about OR before that, eons? Then you're ending in eorions. And I think at some point I've thought, what if it was Orpheorions, based on Orpheus, who was famous for playing musical instruments. A pro could be what, and then for, pro. A is what, pro is for, written upwards gives us Orphe, and that is a possible musical instrument. It fits the word play, it could be right, gives me an O for my Reebok, and maybe now I can come up with the Reebok version with the H in it instead of REEBOK. No, still having to ponder that one. Here we go. I finally thought of it and understood it and put it in, probably explaining the herb. No, I think I'm just trying to move on now. Wow. I can see myself going wow there. That was hard. So peak half visible. Well, that now is looking like the letters PE. To an extent, but honestly, I'm still sitting here. I know that I found out what the answer to this was, and I cannot remember now, which is terrible, but there we are. I think in the end it turns out to be a word for peak, and you only take half of it. So an 8-letter word for peak, and you only take half of it, and it means a climber's route diagram. But I'm not even certain about that now. I am, I think, worried about how I'm ever even going to look it up and find out what the answer is, but we'll see. So I probably still, I put the E in from the peak half visible. Maybe I'm thinking that a climber's route could be a 2, T-O. I just literally cannot still remember now. I think when I see the answer I will remember why, but anyway. That is a very difficult clue, I am here to tell you. So is 22 across. I'm worried about in breathe now. Have I got that wrong? And maybe I had never understood how to parse he as an answer to it. I was happy enough with E meet, I think, and BR. No, I've satisfied myself about he being it, I think. And moved on. Just looking at the 16 across again. Oh, it's painful, isn't it? Peak half visible on climber's route diagram. As I say, I still do not remember what that is. I'm wondering now if it's Taff from cenotaph, but that's not really a peak. I honestly don't know now. I think it might be the second half of an 8-letter word. So anyway, I've gone back. I haven't really looked at this clue with the R in it now. Cairns hybrid fowl to complement Picken ? And I'm not really understanding what it's doing even at this point. And I think I'm on the point of giving up on this puzzle, but I never know quite how long I let this run. So literally I'm having to just talk over me doing nothing in the puzzle and thinking about it. I don't know what I was saying at the time. It's long enough ago that I can't remember. But there we go. Now, trying 23 down again. I think surely I'm going to have to put in Ledu at this point and hope it's right. With Indian food vocabulary, it often hasn't made my dictionary by the time it's current enough to be in this puzzle. And I'm never sure whether that's because I haven't updated my dictionary or because the constructors are using a different dictionary. Since many of their definitions come out of Chambers' dictionary, I think they are using my dictionary, but maybe a more modern edition. So, left with these two words, and I think it's probably time to just give up, or maybe think of a word that would fit and hope to get marked right. Or think of a string that might make a word that would fit. Although I think with this word, I found even that difficult to come up with or consider. Nothing much happening. I do want to think about that peak half visible again, because I think when I found the word I really did understand the clue immediately, which is incredibly irritating that I can't remember it now. Ooh, looks like I'm about to enter something, but I've got nothing to enter. Just can't see a way to come up with a word that's going to mean anything. Chollery or something would sound like, again, some sort of cooking word. It feels like we're looking for some sort of chicken. Oh, look, I've gone for kidoo instead of ladoo at 23 down. That could be right. In the hope that that'll give me a better word. Croakers would fit now, for instance, or crokery, or crockery even. But I don't know, I'm left a bit stuck, and it's really at this point how quickly I give up and turn to the dictionary, because I don't think I get these last 2.5 words. Oh, chookery, because of chook being an Australian chicken. It's an interesting idea. I've made it up entirely. I'm going to tell you it's not right. And then maybe I fill in type or something in the hope that that is a peak half visible on a climber's route diagram in some way. It's driving me mad now that I can't even now remember what this answer is. Is it? Yes, I've got it now. Peak is a 3-letter word being top in this answer, and it's on that is half visible. You literally have to take a 2-letter word and remove half of it, and you get topo, which I suppose, not surprisingly, is a diagram from topography that is used by climbers for measuring their routes. So I'm pretty sure the answering, or for mapping their routes, so I'm pretty sure that the answer is topo. But chookery is also not right. Have I given up on it? No, I'm probably going to enter something here and hope to get a tick and not get one, or maybe I'm not even going to. Let's see, there's still me thinking. It's funny how often I turn my head away to think. I don't know quite why that is. It's taking a while, isn't it? Oh my goodness. Come on, Mark. Open the dictionary and try and figure it out. Here we go. So, tried something. Taff from Cenotaph. It wasn't right. Trying something else, am I here? Or maybe, don't know. Kidoo is much less likely, I think, than ladoo, but that may be hindsight. Still pondering whether I can correct something. No, gone to the dictionary. Let's look them up. Although I don't really know what to look up. It's rather difficult, and I'm struggling to size the dictionary as well. So let's hope we can actually read some of this. Still hoping to try and size the dictionary, give up and expand. I'll put it over there so it's not blocking the grid. Fair enough. Yeah, the difficult thing here is knowing what letters I could put in to test. So I've tried TAPH probably, or what am I going to try? Sorry if you can't read this. I'm having trouble myself. All right, so I've looked at 2 to see if that can mean on in some way. Then I'm trying T blank P blank. And the answer possible, oh, my screen's going crazy. The answer possibilities are down here. Tapu, same as taboo in Maori, doesn't look promising. Teepee is a Native American tent, one spelling of it. Taupe, not looking good, although that's only taupe 1. Topee is a hat. Topo, a diagram showing the route of a rock climb. And as I say, that's because it's top for peak, and then O for half visible on. But I still haven't got a tick on the puzzle, so Chukari's wrong. So I'm trying C blank O blank K blank R blank and just getting clockers, croakers and crockery, which is interesting that you can't have crockers or crokery. So I'm trying it with an L, which would be Ladu, and there's the word Choltry, a caravanserai, at which point I remember that a caravan stop in the desert can also be called a khan. So Choltry must be right. Why is that the hybrid fowl complement of picken? And that is because picken is like a portmanteau of poultry and chicken, and the alternative portmanteau of poultry and chicken is ch and ultry, giving Choltry, which is this ridiculous Malaysian caravanserai. And that gets us back to Ladu, which must be the correct answer. So I'm there on the verge of finishing the puzzle if I just put in the A for Ladu, and finally the software will tell me that it's correct, which is why I do this a month behind, so it will tell me. And I mean, this has to go down as a bit of a failure, especially with those last 3 answers. And even the point of giving up on Ladu and going to Kiddu is a bit dismal, frankly, because I think I should have been able to figure that out. So now I'm going to just check. Ladu is not in my dictionary. I'm going to check various other answers for what they mean in the dictionary. I hope I look up Fazenda, at least, in this. Don't know why I've got this crazy quivering cursor effect going on, but it doesn't really matter. So Gridlin, or Gridlin, it's pronounced apparently. Violet grey. Didn't know that before this. From the French Gridlin, flax grey. Well, that's tough to know. Then I've tried Pepperidge, which is the Tupelo. And I'm certainly amused by that because I didn't know what a Tupelo was, and it is an American gum tree, which is presumably what the city is named after. So fair enough. Then frumentarius, relating to corn, very simply. Corny was the definition there. What else are we going to try? Unked. There it is. North and West English, forms of uncouth. Lonely, one of the definitions, as well as eerie. Do I try many other things? Yeah. Gens de peu. Look at all those words of gens. People of humble condition. Gens de peu. And Sori, a North American short-billed rail, also Sora. Didn't remember that very specifically. Fazenda, especially in Brazil, which must be where Paraíba is, a large estate, plantation or cattle ranch. And it is cognate with hacienda, I was quite pleased to see. Execute it. Ah, it's not a writ, it's she struck, hammered, forged or printed this. Or he or she struck, hammered, forged or printed this. From Latin dedications. Didn't remember that. What else? Orpheorions. A large lute-like instrument with 9 pairs of metal strings, which is a variant spelling of Orpherion. I mean, it's just madness, isn't it? Some of these words are insane, and very few of them are normal. Very few normal words in this puzzle, I would say, in this particular one. But there we go. That is, I think, where I sign off. Thank you for watching. There will be a normal one with a recorded voice track next time, I almost promise, and I will hope to see you then. I shall say bye for now, and I'll cut this video off at this point, I think. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.